for Aldi Grocery, and the Aldi Grocery is going to have a new store at the corner of Colima and the Albatross. Approved for the wine and the beer sale off-site, will not consume at the store, take home. And the other COP approval is Happy Garden restaurant at Colima Road at the Roland Heights Center, and also that is a beer and a wine consumption at the restaurant. And then the third approval is the Chinese restaurant, a Korean restaurant at the Ralph, at the corner of Nogales and the Colima at the Riley Center. We approved that. That's all the three of them. All three of them are approval for beer and wine consumption. And during the approval process, we invite all representatives of three business give us a presentation at our board meeting, and that's some discussion on the Aldi Grocery was the parking. See if enough parking for that. And according to Aldi, they follow the county restriction. The parking it should be enough. The 520 is more than the county required number of parkings in that shopping center. But that doesn't related to the approval. The approval was for beer and wine consumption only. Okay, let's go to the community report. The first speaker is Los Angeles County Walnut Station Sheriff. Is Claudia here, or Officer Danvers here?
All right, Claudia's on training this week, so she's not going to be here, so I'm filling in for her real quickly. Okay, just to kind of go over some of the crimes that we're experiencing in Rowland Heights. Our number one crime is vehicle burglaries. I know every week she comes here and usually says the same things regarding vehicle burglaries. Business burglaries are up. We've also had 6 catalytic converter thefts, so that's still something that's going on. And a little bit, I'll tell you about one of the events that's coming up that you guys can actually participate in. Vandalisms are down, criminal threats, stuff like that. Stolen vehicles, it was 4. So that's a little bit lower than what we normally see. So, just a couple updates. So we had a burglary suppression over at the 99, or by the 99 Ranch at Gale and Nogales. We've had a lot of vehicle break-ins from that Boiling Crab parking lot, the 99 Ranch parking lot. So we did an operation over there where we had a couple of UC undercover vehicles, and then we had some deputies that were kind of waiting to see if anybody went after one of the vehicles, and then we could try to take them down for there. They didn't hit that day. It's random, so there's no particular date or time that they do it. So sometimes you'll see these burglaries happen at 10 o'clock at night, right when everybody's getting ready to shut down the restaurants, and then sometimes we'll see these burglaries happen at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. So it's really hard to kind of pinpoint, even though we did one all day long. She might have mentioned a couple other ones too. We've had a handful of vehicle break-ins. We had them over at the church off of St. Elizabeth, but the male that committed that offense was arrested. We're still waiting for the court date for that. And then we've also had a handful of vehicle break-ins that have been happening over at like Forest Lawn. So Forest Lawn area. People go to Forest Lawn and they leave their purses or they leave valuables in their vehicle. They go see loved ones and somebody's coming by, and most of the time they're doing what's called door pulls. So what we see a lot of is these door pulls. You'll see, we see ring cameras, we see video cameras all the time where somebody's just walking down the street and looking for vehicles to pull the door open and then get inside the vehicle, as opposed to breaking the window. If they see something valuable, they'll break the window, but if they just open the door by pulling on the door rather than breaking the window, the crime is significantly reduced in the eyes of the district attorney's office. So it's no longer a burglary, it is just a petty theft. And so we see a lot more of those than we're seeing with breaking the windows. We did a couple other homeless encampment operations. We did one that was over there on the Green Bay and the 60 freeway. We have another couple that we're going to be working on. There's another one over by Fairway, and these are the encampments that are starting, where we have a handful of individuals that are experiencing homelessness, and we go over there and try to provide them services and give them. We try to put them in contact with our union stations and Orange County homeless authorities. We also had our National Night Out. That was on the 1st of August. We grilled 450 hot dogs, and we raffled off 6 bicycles. Those bicycles were nice bicycles. They were estimated over $2,000 for the totality of those. And 12 different information booths came out there. So coming up, we have what they call etch and catch, or the catalytic converter etching. That is going to be at the Calvary Chapel on August 16th between 9 and 11 a.m. So you can just drive over there, show up. They used to have it to where you had to reserve, and then they would put your name on a list, and now it's kind of a first come, first serve. So they normally do that once a month. If you look at the Walnut Diamond Bar Sheriff Station website, you'll be able to see monthly when they're going to be doing these operations over, and they're always usually at the Calvary Chapel and Diamond Bar, kind of mid-month. Okay? Does anybody have any questions?
Yeah, a few weeks ago on the top of Bayland around the Hayford by Sheldon, the helicopter that we're going to let the dogs loose, the sheriff's at the top of Bayland. What happened?
I don't know that particular incident, but usually if it's an afternoon, well, we have a handful of residential burglaries, or they have incidents that happen like that. That's usually when we bring the helicopter out, usually because there's somebody still inside of a location. But we've had a couple different events that have happened in Rolling Heights, and I can't tell you particularly about that one. But yeah, normally that's what's going to happen. If the helicopter's flying and circling around your area, stay inside your house, lock your doors, and if you hear any noises or anything in the backyard, call us. Just sit there and say, hey, I live at this address, I'm hearing noise in my backyard, because it may be somebody that we're looking for that might be running through your yard. But it also could be us too, so do understand, there's sometimes that we may try to access your yard to get to somebody that's running from us somewhere else. We normally try to knock on the door, but depending on the agency of it, I don't have time to knock on your door to let you know I'm running through your backyard chasing somebody, right? So it's one of those ones where just be aware. If you see the helicopter, understand that there's significant enough of an incident that a helicopter needed to come out for you. Anybody else? Roy?
Yes, could you tell one and all, what is the process for filing a complaint, perhaps even criminal, against individuals in the Sheriff's Department, particularly your department there?
So
what is
if
the
you
process?
want to file a complaint against one of us?
Yes.
Okay, so you can either go to the sheriff's station, or you can make a phone call. You ask to speak to the watch commander, who's on duty, and then if you have the deputy's name, that would be helpful. Or you can sit there and say, hey, I had an incident, the sheriff's department came out, and then they'll usually be able to trace who contacted you, or depending on the time of it, they'll reach out and say, hey, did anybody stop a Roy Humphreys?
Yeah. Well, part of the problem is one of your lieutenants over there. That's one of them. And then you can go to my YouTube channel. That one will be up after this meeting. I have 2 others. It's really a beautiful thing to see how it's called. I use the term passive aggressive. You come out to Roy Humphreys with this guy threw a baseball size asphalt at me. It was bottles and everything else. They came out, quote, allegedly took the report, and there's a little color. I'm not going to, just for the sake of time. I'm driving over to Home Depot. They pull up beside me, roll the window down, say, do you want to file a report? And I'm thinking, what the hell do you think we were doing over there for 15 minutes when a possible suspect, which I talked to you about, went over the fence from the area where you're supposed to get arrested for that sort of thing.
Okay, like I said,
what do you do about that? Then I called up and your people have no record of anything ever happening. Isn't that a beautiful thing? So people,
what would you like
when
me
you
to
think
do
you've
about
got
that,
something
Roy?
with the sheriff's department,
Roy, is there
you may
something
have
I
it, you
can
may
do for
not.
you? I don't know who the deputy was, I don't know the incident.
Well, it's there on my YouTube channel,
Okay.
and as you pointed out, I will file the complaints. It's going to take time because I have other things to do with my life. But
Okay.
by the way, thank you.
All right.
How are we doing? Officer Mike Gonsalves, the Highway Patrol. Let's go over the stats like we normally do for the months. July seemed like we had a 31% decrease in traffic collisions, which I said these numbers are all coming from our PIO. These are completed. I mean, I'm going by the numbers. It's kind of July. You would think they would be up a little bit because 4th of July and all that tends numbers go up, but we're showing a 31% decrease, which is a good thing. Hopefully these numbers are accurate, but usually these are completed crashes. So if there were like some major crashes in July because of the holiday, and they're still not finalized due to follow-up, if it was felony, stuff like that, those numbers are not affected, or they're not showing in here. Year to date, like I said, we're tracking basically where we were last year at this time of year. Crashes, we were at 217 for the whole year in this area, the Rowland Heights area. Same thing, if you have traffic complaints or concerns on enforcement stuff, you can obviously address me while I'm here at the meetings. Other than that, you can go on our website, it's 550, which is the Santa Fe Springs area, the traffic complaints at chp.ca.gov. I have this, or you can just log on to just the state website. You can go in there, it'll have every single office in the state. So you just go in the Santa Fe Springs office and call them, and they'll send out our units that deal with the complaints or the concerns you guys have. Back to school, I think all the schools should be in for the most part now with all the kids. Try to be patient if you live in those areas. I know especially the first couple of weeks it gets very cluttered in there with kids getting dropped off and then just kids running in and out of traffic. Let us know. There's also complaints that we need to know about. We can address it with the principals and stuff. But just make sure we're careful, slow down at 25 miles an hour in the school, during school hours, in the school zones. Our area, in this last month, we had 2 DUI checkpoints and also, we had 2 DUI checkpoints and 1 impaired driver task force. Those 3 different events that we had, we had over 40 arrests and we had over 300 enforcement contacts, DUI. We also had, that I brought up last week, and I don't know if anyone here attended, but on August 5th, we had that Santa Fe Springs inaugural National Night Out at our office. It was a great turnout. We had over 500 people. Like I said, we handed out over 150 helmets to kids on bicycles, and we had, vendors, food vendors, and all that. So next year is supposed to be that much better. I think Christmas time we're going to do the same thing we did last year. We're going to do the same thing, give away our office, and I'll bring that information when it comes around. Still looking for more senior volunteers, as I brought up to 4 hours a week. If you're interested in that, like I said, contact our office. You can ask for Officer Salazar, and he'll give you the information on that. Besides that, that's all the information we have for this month. If anyone has any concerns, I'll stay around if any questions now.
Yes, I know this is a little beyond area of Rowland Heights for the option. I'm wondering, are there any efforts being made by local law enforcement such as CHP and the Sheriff's Department to create some sort of attempted carjacking law? I mean, we all know carjacking is against the law, but I've been thinking that, I'm too bashful to approach from legislators about this, but I was thinking like that the minute they touch the steering wheel or gear shift, and they commit any act of violence, that should be attempted carjacking.
Well, that is a crime in itself. Obviously, we got to catch them, and obviously it needs to be reported. I mean, you don't have to physically drag you out of the car and take you. I mean, we obviously have to, witnesses, anybody at the time, someone trying to, you don't have to physically take off in your car. If they forcefully are trying to get your car from you, and you happen to keep them from doing that, doesn't mean that, like, all right, well, that's not a crime. That's a crime that was committed. So call 911. They'll send out the proper, agency to handle it, whether it's in the sheriff's handle or if it's in a city.
Instead of assault and battery charge, is there any law called attempted carjacking in the state of California?
Attempted carjacking, I don't know if there's actual violation for the attempted carjacking, but so once it happens, and we can detain whoever happened, and from there we can figure out what happened, right? Who knows, they go try to carjack you, or you grab the car and somehow a big gash on the side of your door. Well, vandalism, like we need to know the circumstances. You can't just say like it's gonna be the exact one. There's certain things that we can go after them for. So, or if they reach in there and you know, hit you in the eye, and now you have a swollen eye or a busted lip, well, there's assault right there. So there's a lot that happen, you know, that could happen between. If they're reaching in your window, they're probably gonna do it forcefully. They're not there just like, you know, please get out, like, you know, take off your seatbelt slowly. So I think carjacking in itself, I think no matter where it stands.
It's called right now, they say carjacking is, they have to take control of the vehicle. Take the vehicle away from the person, drive down the street, you have complete total control. And, you know, I've been a victim of anyone I know been a victim, but I've been thinking, you know, once they grab that steering wheel and they push it, I was thinking maybe that should be an exact.
I agree, yeah. I don't know exactly what section though, but like I said, it's not just, we can't, if something like that happens, we will notify it and try to, yeah, they don't have to drive away their car. There's gonna be something else, yeah, but the carjacking itself, yes, the car has to physically be driven away for it to be a carjacking. But there's other stuff in between there, you know, we're not saying, hey, so we can let these guys get arrested, let's just let them take the car so at least they go to jail, which, you know, there's other stuff for that. But as far as, yeah, attempted, I don't think there's an actual violation for that, but there's other stuff that goes with that. So like I said, just call them, and when we get out there, that's what, I definitely don't know all the codes, and the sergeant gets on scene might not know, but that's when we get together and we can call our, you know, our allied agencies and be like, hey, what do you guys use in this circumstance? We try to work as a team, because there's a lot of times where we'll call them and they're like, hey, this is the sections we use, and then a lot of times they'll call us and say, this is the proper section that you need to use for this, so they can be charged for whatever crime they did. Because yeah, if you put that wrong charge on there and it doesn't, you know, it doesn't check off the boxes, they're gonna walk right out the door like as if nothing happened. So, but yeah, if anyone else has any questions, I'll be here till the end of the meeting, and we can take that from you.
Okay, next I'd invite Los Angeles County Supervisor, District Number 1 Office, Ryan Serrano, and your team.
Thank you, Kerry. Good evening, everyone. My name is Ryan Serrano. I'm a senior field deputy with the Office of Supervisor Hilda Solis. And I just have a couple of items that we brought for you today. The first item you'll see over here on the table to my right is our office hours flyer. It has information on the various office hours for the district. We have an office here in South San Gabriel. South El Monte. We have another in East LA and another one downtown. There's also information on some various resources if you're in need of food, shelter, health. We got some information for you right here. Next, just a little bit of information on updates to Metro fares. So as of July 1st of this year, there have been some changes, mostly some rollbacks so that it's more accessible for folks to go ahead and access Metro. If you are a Metro rider, please do pick this up. This is some great information. Additionally, we have information on the 12th annual job fair being hosted by the Asian American Economic Development Enterprise. This is this Friday, August 18th from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. If you guys are looking to grab a job, or you know anybody that's looking to get back into the workforce, there'll be many resources here. They can get some assistance with resume writing and or job skills. So that's this Friday. We also have some information, what we're calling Clear the Shelter. So for this month in August, you can get a well, I guess not brand new, but a brand new pet to yourselves and your home for the low cost of $20. And that includes microchipping, it includes vaccinations, and it includes spay and or neuter. And that's for the entire month of August. And then finally, just some information on mosquitoes. As we know, the heat does cause more and more mosquitoes to come around. Those mosquitoes are now becoming year-long presence, and so you want to make sure that you're taking the precautions to keep you and your family safe. There's some tips here as well as information to a website where you can learn more. And I'll go ahead and open up for any questions. Yes, Roy?
Just very quickly, were your office able to get to Kerry, who requested it, a breakdown of the different categories of, quote, the term homeless applies to? And number two, very quickly, do you get a free pooper scooper with those pets that you're talking about? Is
I'll
that-
answer the second one
We
first.
we need a pooper scooper for each of those.
I see here, this includes microchip, vaccination, spay and neuter, nothing about pooper scooper.
What can
But
you
if you
say?
put in a good word, they might be able to help you out.
Okay, and
And
then,
as far as the definition of homelessness, I believe the back and forth that you're talking about was the differentiation between the school boards and their definition for homelessness versus the county.
now there's a whole breakdown to include the transients, which are not homeless, we know, and we got plenty of issues here and others with that. So that's what's the further breakdown that we're talking about here. And another issue, and you said it right here in front of God and everybody, that house on Otterbein, which is all burnt out, it's a shell, was to be taken down by the owner. Any news on that?
So I have not heard back from the owners regarding that location. I will circle back with the department and see if we can get them to push the button on them again.
Okay, and if it does happen at that sacred moment, send it to my funeral, put it on my casket there, would you
We're gonna
please?
CC it to your funeral?
Sit right.
You got
Thank
it.
you.
Any other questions?
I've got one.
Yes, sir.
What is the interest, or can you tell us how Hilda Solis's office is participating in the Buckboard Days? And, you know, is she helping support it this year and in the future?
Yes, so Supervisor Solis is happy to support the Buckboard Day Parade. I believe it is the 51st annual parade. This will be sponsored to the full extent as it was last year. However, there has been requests made to the current committee that they enter into an exploratory committee to see how we might be able to better put this parade on in the future and set it up for success regardless of who is the supervisor and who are the committee members. So we're putting together a future exploratory committee on how we can continue beyond supervisors' tenure.
Well, one more very quick, and this applies to everybody. Tomorrow morning, you correct me if I'm wrong, the supervisors meeting, which you can attend virtually, as I have been doing for the past 52 weeks, and express yourself and ask them why they legalized marijuana, which, like, who in the hell needs that, yet they criminalize sex. Thank you, folks. Thank you for that. But we really do need to get it out to you. You can attend there right from your office, wherever the heck you are. Starting at, to get in line, you got to start at 8:45 to get in the queue.
Just one quick clarification though, tomorrow isn't a regular board meeting, tomorrow is just a public hearing.
Hey, public, thank you.
Yes. Any other questions? Fantastic, have a great evening everyone.
Thank you, Ryan. Next, I'd like to invite Congresswoman Linda Sanchez, a representative is anyone from her office? Maybe she's not here.
I'll represent her office.
So next, Kaya Miller, representing Bob Archuleta, the Senator of California.
Thank you, Carrie. Hello, everybody. It's a pleasure to be here. It's an honor to represent Rowland Heights for the Senator, Bob Archuleta. And what I thought I would do is, counting on a podium. Give me just a moment. So the Senator went back into session today, actually, and he'll be there for a month, almost entirely voting on bills, hundreds of bills. So first thing I want to say is if you're familiar with a bill, you're in support of a bill, or you're in opposition of the bill, please call our office. It's located in Norwalk. I'd be happy to give you the number, but it's easily findable. We have a very seamless process where you can either lodge your support or your opposition, and that all gets logged in, and the senator is able to see that when he goes to the floor to vote on bills. So I highly encourage you to make your voice known on that. So I also wanted to highlight, we're right in the process of voting on all the bills, but the budget hasn't been passed. So I wanted to highlight a couple of items that the senator was able to fund in the region. Unfortunately, there wasn't anything for Rowland Heights specific. I don't think we actually even got a request, but I wanted to let you know that 3.2 million was granted through the budget for the city of La Puente for their activity center, which is located in a park. And if you've ever been to the La Puente Park, it's a very popular park in the region for all kinds of sporting things and different kinds of programs. And so that's really going to help them, and I encourage you to look into the programs that they're having over there, because it's a great opportunity. You have the Rolling Heights Community Center, but there's some items that they have that could be useful for you as well. And then also, the senator was able to get $660,000 just adjacent to us in the city of Diamond Bar for a popular park that needed some upgrades to the restroom facilities and ADA and the park stuff. It's a very big park for the game of pickleball. So I don't know if anybody plays pickleball here, but there's a fantastic league there. I understand it's very vibrant. So he was able to do that, and that is it on the budget side. And like I said, some bills are moving through, and I wanted to highlight a couple of bills that the senator, has going through the process, and we hope to get those through all the way. The first bill is SB 412, which is the Victim Parole Notification Bill. And so there are some restrictions that we felt were a little short in terms of notifying victims when the perpetrator or the assailant is getting paroled or has served his time. And so this kind of extends that and firms it up for the victims to be notified. That's moving through the process. SB 602, which is a trespassing bill for abandoned buildings and private property, basically enforcing the trespassing ordinance, giving it more teeth, so that, because when people trespass or people occupy vacant buildings, it creates an unsafe situation. So we're looking to strengthen that and give more tools to law enforcement and the cities that those properties might be located in. And I also wanted to end with SCR 21, which you may not have heard of. It's actually a Senate Constitution resolution, basically trying to attract from the federal government for Long Beach in particular to be the hub of hydrogen research. So if you're familiar with hydrogen, it's an alternative to obviously gas cars, but it's an alternative to electric as well, because research shows that we won't be able to electrify ourselves out of, not everybody can have electric cars, put it that way. So if we're able to get this and we're chosen as the hub, literally billions of dollars will come into the community, into the region in various forms, and will really help bring hydrogen into the mainstream, because everybody that has a car loves it, but the infrastructure needs some help, and that's what this bill will do if it's successful. And the feds chose Long Beach as one of the only 5 hubs in the United States. So there's a couple of other ones, but I think I'll end there because I'm getting a little ahead of myself. Those bills actually haven't passed, but we feel like there's broad support and that they will pass. I just want to kind of give you kind of a feel for what we're doing up in Sacramento. So that's it from me. If there's any questions. Yes, Roy.
Just very quickly, that one that you had on the occupants, the trespass,
Yes.
Can it be effective in this squatter situation you see where they just come over, take over a house, and then you got to spend, $5,000, $10,000 to get them the hell out of, and it's your property?
Yeah, good question, Roy. It is strengthening property rights. It's really focused on abandoned commercial buildings or commercial, businesses that may not be there anymore, and vacant land. But I can check into that and follow up with you if it extends to residential.
Thank you.
Any other questions? So again, if there's any bills that you're familiar with, that you have a position on, we'd love to hear it. And I'll be sticking around, so if you want my email or the office phone number, I'd be happy to give it. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Kyle. One of our board members just arrived, Ms. Hernandez. Esther Hernandez, raise your hand. Let me remind everyone, since we have very limited time, so the question and answer limit to 2 minutes per question. So we have everyone has a share to speak in questions. Okay, next I'd like to invite Lisa Calderon's office representative Ramon Lacon, please.
Hello, good afternoon. My name is Roland Quinn. I'm here on behalf of Assembly Member Lisa Calderon. I'm her senior field representative, so I want to report on some pieces of legislation and future events that we have. So the member, she currently has 7 bills that moved on from the Assembly to the Senate, and they touch things on like school greening grant programs and healthcare services. Other than that, we're also doing our college career fair here. We always partner with Hacienda, the Unified School District. So we have over 65 college and career representatives. So they provide different outlooks for our students who are graduating from high school. You know, sometimes students don't want to like go to college after they graduate from high school. So there's an opportunity for them to pursue like a trade school, or even you know, work in law enforcement or the military, or even like the CT program with HMPUSD. And then we're also looking forward to having Rolling Unified there as well, with Carrie Chen and the rest of them, because they are now in our district because we serve them. And then this is actually my last week here because I'm resigning, so I just want to come and say goodbye to Carrie Chen and the rest of the board. Friday is my last day, so I'm going to bring my colleague Alberto Ruiz, who's going to take over for me, and I'll let him introduce himself really quickly. Thank you.
All right, Ramon, thank you very much. Carrie, good evening, nice to see you, I'm familiar. Hello everyone, nice to meet you all. My name is Alberto Ruiz. I'm Principal Field Representative and Communications Director for Assembly Member Lisa Calderon. I have been in the district my whole life actually. I actually grew up down the street in Hacienda Heights. So I spent a couple years of my life living here in Rolling Heights when I attended Mount San Antonio College. So it's wonderful to be back here to represent the office. Ramon, thank you so much for the work you've done these last few years with the Assembly Member and the last about 7 months with our new district. So happy to represent Rolling Heights and all of the unincorporated communities in our district. As Ramon mentioned, we have our college and career fair coming up, which I am the lead project manager of. So any questions on that, don't hesitate to reach out to me. I'll give Carrie my contact information. So anything that Ramon can't handle the last week here, you feel free to reach out to me going forward. So Ramon, you did a nice job wrapping it up. You can come up here if anyone has any follow-up questions. A lot of what Mr. Kyle Miller brought up is similar to our office. This is the first week back in the California legislature after about a month off. So we're going into 5 straight weeks of voting on bills, and right now there are about several hundred waiting in the Assembly Appropriations Committee from our partners in the Senate. So yeah, that's about it from us. Thank you very much.
Welcome back. And Ramon, thank you very much for supporting the community, and yeah, sure, good. Thank you. Yeah, thank you. Yeah. Okay, so next speaker is Rolling Unified School District, and I am the one representing Rolling Unified School District. New school year starts today, August 14. We welcome all the schools, welcome returning students and the new students, TK and K, 4.5 years old and 5-year-old kids. First day to school, in most of the school, they on the red carpet welcome students and the teachers and the staff back to school. So that is big day today. It's actually started today, Monday. For the new year, and we have the new team, and there's new administrators, and to share with you the new administrators we have starting this year. We have a new principal at Nogales High School. Scott Canales, he was the principal of Alvarado, and now then he is the leader of the Nogales High School. And also a new assistant principal, Jessica Donovan, and she was the assistant principal at Alvarado. Now they both moved to Nogales High School. And Northern Elementary has a new principal, Karen Magana, and she was the principal of Killian Elementary. And Killian Elementary has a new principal, Maria Descalo, and she was the assistant principal of Killian, she was the assistant principal of Killian. And the principal of Alvarado, we have new Jacob Jung, and he served our district for a few years, and he moved to West Covina, and now we hire him back and send him to be the principal of Alvarado. We have administrators who have a new dog school and community service, Dr. Latonya Brown, and she is the director of the dog school. And the manager of maintenance operation, Eric Jones. And we have assistant principal at Giano Intermediate, Lisa Perez. Alvarado has a new assistant principal, Connie Hamachi, to replace the vacancy for Jessica Delamin. She now a principal, assistant principal in Nogales. And Esther Garcia is new coordinator of extended learning. I think that's it, and we have quite a few new faces and new positions for the new school year, and we have a new strong team. Thank you. Any questions? Okay, thank you. And the next speaker is Mount Antonio College, Dr. Chen Haggerty, and she is out of town today, and she asked me to share the information of Mount SAC. The fall semester starts August 28, and Mount SAC is excited to welcome our new returning students enrollment in credit classes for fall 2023 is approximately 55% face-to-face. That's all the community report for tonight. Then we have two presentations this evening. The first one is from Public Works, and the topic will be parking restriction. Please, the Public Works.
Hi, my name is Jessica Canarak. I'm a senior civil engineering assistant from LA County Public Works.
And I'm Darren Reyes. I'm one of the engineers for LA County Public Works, specifically Road Maintenance Division.
And today we're going to be presenting on new parking restrictions for street sweeping. And it's for a specific location. We'll show the map in a minute. It's called Jellic Avenue. So the location of the project is Jellic Avenue. We'll show the map in a couple of slides, but it's southeast of the intersection of Colima at Fullerton. Our purpose for posting is part of our commitment to keep roads clean and improve water quality. And we do so by posting the streets so our sweepers can efficiently have access to the curb and gutter, so they can thoroughly remove the debris and pollutants without any vehicles impeding in the way. And this is an example of an unposted street. So if you can see in the back, that's the sweeping truck, and he's not able to sweep really any part of the street because the cars are all parked in the way. So it's a lot more helpful if we post the street so that they can go through it. And then this is a map of the project area. It's Jellic Avenue et al. And the sweeping times are Wednesday from 7 to 11 and on Thursday from 7 to 11. And we've already sent the first notice to the residents in the area. So far, we received 1 comment. And this area is expected to be posted next spring. So we're currently in the process of posting all unincorporated areas in LA County. So if your neighborhood or street isn't posted yet, it will eventually be posted. If you have any questions, you can go ahead and give me an email or call me. So with that being said, are there any questions or concerns?
My area has never been posted for sweeping, and we have 2 homeowners who have 7 vehicles that are never moved, and we've dealt with, the contact Deputy Denver, and they all know that nobody moves these vehicles. We would really like to have it posted for street sweeping. So I have a Walnut address, but it's unincorporated Rowland Heights. Will we also get the posting for street sweeping?
Yeah, eventually everyone will be posted, but we do all of the neighborhoods in order of emails or comments from residents. So this area is being posted because we got an email from a resident. So if you send me an email or you give me your address right now, we'll put it at the list, and then we go through the queue in order of the receival of the list.
After this presentation, ma'am, I can come over and get your contact information so we can get that rolling.
Will it be both sides of the street or just one side of the street?
It's both sides of the streets, but usually we alternate the sides so people can go to the other side of the street to park. So if we go back to the map, usually we do one side Wednesday and the other side Thursday.
Okay, and then if an area has several entrances, are you going to post it at all the entrances?
The signs are posted throughout the street, so we try to post it at the beginning of the street and at the end of the street.
Here, why don't you get John over there in here? He's older than me.
I'm John Hill. I live in a mobile home park, and when they have the street sweeper come through, we have to have our cars off the main thoroughfare. If we don't, they get towed. What's going to be the consequences on these public streets if they don't move their car, like the lady here was talking about? What are you going to do about that?
So it'd be the same idea. The reason why we conduct these street sweeping postings is so that the sheriff can properly enforce, and if there are vehicles in the way, they will get cited and ticketed.
How many citations are they going to get before they're towed?
That would be on sheriff's department. They'll continue citing as necessary.
This is the problem that you're going to have in enforcement. And I was talking to Louis Denver and myself. This seems to be a problem in every area of our lives now, is enforcement. The responsibility and the consequences are not commiserate. People are able to break the laws without anything happening to them. So here you're coming along with another set of rules. I'm curious, what are you going to do to enforce them? You're telling me you're going to cite these people, but how much latitude are you going to give them?
Well, actually, it's not us, it would be sheriff's department.
You're saying
We're asking for the assistance of our sheriff's department to properly conduct the necessary enforcement.
Okay.
Young guy over here.
Any questions?
Young guy.
And usually when we send the second notice after the signs are posted, residents have a 1-month grace period before the sheriff starts enforcing it. So they'll get a warning, but then after that month period ends, that's when they start getting tickets.
You're talking about 2 months.
No, it's 1 month.
You get 1 month and then you get more time to correct it. So you're giving them about 2 months.
So just to clarify, after we send the second notice in, we give the community a 3-week grace period so that the community can get accustomed to the street sweeping regulations.
Okay, go. Yeah, be the man.
My name is Aziz Amiri, and I've been the resident of Roland Heights since 1987. And I want to thank you and your department for doing a wonderful job in maintaining our infrastructure. On Fridays, I deliver Meals on Wheels. I'm a volunteer. And I drive from La Puente to San Antonio Heights to Roland Heights, and mostly behind the Hong Kong market on Jelly. There are apartments behind Hong Kong market that have high density of population, beyond the planned occupancy of those apartments. There are many cars that are parked along the street because there's no sufficient parking in the apartment buildings. And I believe that you may cause undue hardship, to those residents, because there's no way they can pull their cars into their own driveways or into their own apartment parkings. So please reconsider that and see how you will manage that.
So as part of our process, we do try to get feedback from the residences that are affected in the area, and that's part of our first notice. And Jessica did mention that as part of the outreach, when we actually begin posting and begin these projects, we send in first notices to the community to allow for feedback. And we give them typically like a month or a few months to kind of express the concerns that they may have before we actually move forward with everything.
The second comment I want to make is about the condition of the street along Jellic. I drive everywhere and I notice that that area particularly needs some help in asphalt maintenance and cracks and such. So I just want to bring that to your attention, because overall you do wonderful work, and I thank you for that. Thank you.
Thank you, Aziz.
Okay, folks, my name is Roy Humphreys, and you correct me if I'm wrong. I thought my ears were, and I lost one of my hearing aids, so I'm not too good at it. That you said that if a neighborhood or area would like to have this service, if you will, that they have to email you. Is that what I heard?
No, if they email us, it'll get added to the top of the list in our queue, just so it can get posted in that order. But we're posting all of the areas otherwise.
Okay, but to get the service, they have to email you so that they can get on the list. Is that what I understand?
No, everyone's already on the list, but if we do receive any emails or concerns from residents...
So it's superfluous. That's a big word. Okay, I just want to correct myself on that situation. And just how this order went, because are you aware of the James Yang here? And if I get the Cariana Barnett, are you familiar with them? You aren't, Chief?
Yes, we are.
You are? Oh, thank you. Thank you.
James is
Somebody is.
right.
Okay, and are you aware of a lady called Maria Quintana? And there's a ne'er-do-well that some people know about him, Roy Humphreys. Have you heard of these people?
Yes, sir, I've heard of Mr. Humphreys.
Thank you. But I'm most concerned about Maria Quintana. She has the Hialeah mobile park over there, and they have like 180 units, so forth. And the disrespect, forget me, forget about me, but her, because we're the ones that initiated, and I have the paperwork to back it up. It isn't just blowing smoke, okay? And didn't have the courtesy to tell Ms. Quintana and or myself, if I'm worthy of that, the guys who initiated this situation, that there was a change in the program. And James comes to the meeting here, and I talked about it, he says, what, you don't like it? What the hell kind of attitude is that at the county? And again, the sheriffs are distancing us, so now we have this, and what the hell are we gonna do about it? And that's essentially what's it. You don't like it, what the hell are you gonna do about it? Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, no more questions. Thank you very much, Jessica, for sharing. And I have sent the PowerPoint to every paid member by email.
So you have received it today. So this PowerPoint and the next speaker's PowerPoint is also send it to you by email. And so for you to study it, and if you have any questions, you can continue to share with the agencies. Thank you.
Thank you.
So next, the presentation is from short-term rental, like Airbnb, and ordinance from business license section and the collection services section of Los Angeles County Treasurer and the tax collector. The presenter is Monica Allen. She is Assistant Operation Chief. Monica, please.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Monica Allen. I'm with the County of Los Angeles Treasurer and Tax Collector in the business license section. And we've actually been invited by Hilda Solis's office to do a presentation on short-term rentals. So thank you. Thank you for having us. So our agenda tonight we'll go over the background of the short-term rental program, the board objectives, then we will actually get into the actual proposed ordinance. We'll talk about the registration, the regulations and prohibitions, housing restrictions, the hosting platform and host responsibilities, as well as enforcement. Then we'll talk about the timeline during the board, and then we'll go over some FAQ questions. So a background on short-term rental. So I'll give you the formal definition and then I'll break it down. Short-term rental is an accessory use of a host primary residence for the purposes of providing temporary lodging for compensation for periods of 30 consecutive days or less. So many of you may have heard of the company called Airbnb. Airbnb is probably one of the most popular hosting platforms that people will put a short-term rental unit on. But there's also other services such as Expedia, Hotwire, or VRBO. So that's what we're talking about tonight, are short-term rentals for 30 consecutive days or less. So in March of 2019, the Board of Supervisors adopted a motion to direct several county departments, including the Treasurer and Tax Collector, to develop an ordinance for the short-term rental regulation in the unincorporated areas of the county. So the main objective of this motion was to really find and strike a balance between preserving neighborhood character as well as the economic benefit of short-term rentals. So I know it's essential, especially here in Rowland Heights, and that's why we're here tonight. Protecting that character of a residential neighborhood is very important, as well as public safety. But it also provides an opportunity to generate income. And the short-term rental, just as it would be if you're staying in a hotel, you actually have to pay and remit a transient occupancy tax, also known as a hotel tax, to the Treasurer and Tax Collector. So there's an estimated 1,900 short-term rentals located in the unincorporated area of the county. The primary rule for this new short-term rental program is that you can only use your primary residence. And you have to live in that residence for at least 9 months out of the year. no vacation homes can be used for short-term rental. You must be a primary resident. And again, short-term rental guests must pay the county transient occupancy tax, which is at 12% of the nightly rate. So registration. So every host that wants to do short-term rental at their home, they must file an application and receive a registration certificate with the treasurer and tax collector. There is an annual registration fee of $914, and you must agree to the terms and conditions for short-term rentals. And every year you must re-register, and you also must maintain an active registration certificate with the TTC in order to continue to rent your house for short-term rental. So there are two types of stays for short-term rental. A hosted stay is when the host actually stays overnight in the home. You can do that for as many nights out of the calendar year, and you must have a minimum one-night rental. You can also do what's called an unhosted stay, which is when the host does not stay overnight while the guest is there. For an unhosted stay, it's limited to 90 nights or 3 months per calendar year, and you must have at least a minimum 2-night rental for the guests. And the occupancy limit is 2 adult guests per bedroom plus 2. So if you have a 2-bedroom home and you're going to do an unhosted stay, a maximum of 6 guests can stay in your home. Of course, it goes up if you have more bedrooms, but the max is 12 guests. So if you have a 10-bedroom home, you can only have 12 guests. Rent restricted housing is prohibited. So any properties that are subject to rental housing restrictions by deed or agreement with the county, a public agency, or a public authority are prohibited. Properties that are also subject to an agreement that provides a housing subsidy for affordable housing are prohibited, as well as properties that are exempt under any state, federal, or administrative regulations. Accessory dwelling units, also known as ADUs, those are also prohibited from short-term rental. That also includes junior ADUs or any type of guest house that you might have on the property, recreation rooms, tents, yurts. Those are all prohibited from short-term rental use. And actually, just as a footnote, the board actually adopted ADUs from being prohibited from short-term rental use actually in April of 2019. So that's actually been on the books for quite some time. This new program only affirms what the board has prohibited since 2019. And again, vacation rental housing is prohibited. So if you have a summer vacation house that's located in an unincorporated area, you cannot use it as a short-term rental. What the board wants you to do is to use that for long-term. So you can rent it, but they want you to, it's going to be rented for 30 days or more. Actually, would you back up? I want to go back over a couple more things. Yeah. So again, we only want to limit one STR per registration. And again, the intent is to preserve residences for long-term tenancy, not for short-term rentals. Nuisance prevention. So with this new ordinance, we will be addressing nuisances. So there's no illegal parking, disturbances of the peace, excessive noise, vibration, glare. So if you just think like if someone's having a house party, that's prohibited under the short-term rental program. So again, there's no open invite gatherings, parties advertised on social media or commercial gatherings. You cannot do that under the new short-term rental program. On-site parking as well. If there is on-site parking exists, it is required that that parking is given to your guests. And notice to neighbors. So one of the things that we believe is a really good first line of enforcement is noticing the neighbors. So if someone comes and wants to register their home for short-term rental, we will be sending a notice to each one of their neighbors that's adjacent or across the street or behind them to let them know that this person has registered their home for short-term rental. That notice will also give you a 24/7 hotline that will be available for you to call, and also will give you the local responsible contact for that house to let you can talk to them personally if there's a matter that you feel has come up, or you can also call the 24/7 hotline. There's also responsibilities for the hosting platforms as well. So the hosting platforms, like I said, Airbnb, Expedia, they must not advertise any short-term rental without a county short-term rental registration. And they must remove that short-term rental listing from their platform and notify the county if someone is illegally advertising their short-term rental and they have not registered for our program. And again, as I mentioned, the short-term rental host must identify a local responsible contact, and that person must be available 24/7 by telephone to address any neighborhood disturbances and any potential violations. And again, the host must collect that and remit the TOT, which I had spoken about earlier. Enforcement. So if there's any non-compliance to this short-term rental program, we can revoke or suspend or deny their registration and also issue a $285 non-compliance fee. If there is an imminent threat to the public peace, health, and safety, we can do an immediate suspension or revocation for 30 days pending further investigation. If there is continued nuisance, we can put a nuisance abatement lien on the title of their property. And any violation or provision of the chapter, we can also go the route of civil action, injunction, and penalties up to $1,000 per day, misdemeanor charges with $1,000 fine, or imprisonment in jail for 6 months or both. And there's also a violation for any short-term rental that is rented for less than 2-night minimum or beyond the 90-day unhosted stay limit. We can fine them up to $2,000 a day or 2 times the nightly rate, whichever is greater. We also have enforcement provisions for the hosting platforms. So again, this is for like the Airbnb. If they complete a booking transaction for a listing that does not have that short-term rental registration certificate, we can fine them up to $1,000 a day. If they complete a booking transaction for a listing where there's more than one short-term rental affiliated with a single host, we can also fine them up to $1,000 a day. And then if they complete a booking transaction for any listing for short-term rental where the short-term rental registration certificate has expired or has been revoked or suspended, we also can fine them up to $1,000 a day. So again, we do have tools in our toolbox for enforcement. We have that 24/7 complaint hotline. We also have the neighborhood notices that the neighbors will be receiving from the treasurer and tax collector. It's not something that the host has to be responsible for. It's our responsibility to send out that information because we know in the community that you are the eyes and the ears next to your house and you know what's going on. So we want to always make sure that you guys are well informed about what's happening in your neighborhoods. We will be issuing compliance and enforcement notices. We also will be monitoring the rental activity on these hosting platforms. And we also will be coordinating enforcement with county departments such as the Sheriff Department. So this short-term rental ordinance will be going to the board in September. September 19th is our public hearing date. And if there's a second piece to the short-term rental ordinance, that Title II, or Department of Regional Planning, they are also updating their ordinance to make the short-term rental as an accessory use at a home. So that will be updated in winter of 2023, 2024. And then the ordinance will take effect 6 months after the board, if the board adopts the program will go into effect in March of 2024. I'm going to go over a couple of frequently asked questions. Again, I will open it up to your questions as well, but sometimes we like to go over the frequently asked questions just to make sure that, as I think some of these questions come up a lot, so we always want to make sure that we answer them before you ask them. Is a proposed ordinance currently in effect? If not, when will it become the law? So no, this ordinance is not in effect, and it will be going to the board in September 2019. Once it is approved by the board, we will be implementing the program 180 days or 6 months after the effective date. Can a single host have multiple different short-term rental listed on the hosting platform? And the answer is no. So again, the ordinance restricts short-term rental to only a host's primary residence, of which the host can only have one, and you must live there for 9 months out of the year. And you can have one residence and advertise on multiple hosting platforms. So you can advertise on Airbnb, VRBO, Expedia, but you can only register one house. Will month-to-month rentals or other long-term residential rentals be affected by this ordinance? And the answer is no. This program is only for rentals that are 30 consecutive days or less. And that is what constitutes a short-term rental use. Will this ordinance address party house rentals? The ordinance will alleviate the party house rentals by limiting short-term rentals to primary residence. We have been to some outreach here already. We've had a table out here, and the feedback we've received is we can't wait for this to come, because we have people that are not even our neighbors. They just rent out the house, and it's just a party or whatever's going on. So again, this program will alleviate the party house rentals. So first of all, if they have a second home that they're trying to rent out as a short-term rental, that is prohibited, and they can rent it out, but it has to be a 31 days or more rental. So another thing that we're doing as part of this ordinance is we do require a 2-night rental for unhosted stays to kind of prevent those single-night party houses that we've seen, and also prohibiting vacation rentals. And we're also, and again, that designated local responsible contact, that is key, because we want to make sure that when someone registers their home, we know how to get in touch with them if there's a complaint, or if you have a complaint as a neighbor, so that we can address the issue immediately. And the ordinance does prohibit nuisance, and that includes any type of neighborhood disturbances as part of a comprehensive enforcement structure to assist with party houses. Who will be enforcing this ordinance? The treasurer and tax collector will. We will be the administrators of this program, but we also will be coordinating with the sheriff department, regional planning. If there's parking issues as well, we'll be addressing those as well. Why is the annual registration $914? I want to emphasize that there's a registration fee and then there's a transient occupancy tax. They're completely different. The registration fee is actually the amount that we have to charge for cost recovery of the program. We're hiring staff, we have to build an online system for maintenance, and everything that has to do with administration of the program. That is why we're charging the $914. So it's what we call cost recovery. The TOT tax is 12%. We don't receive that tax. That tax goes in the general fund or the Board of Supervisors. So that ends our presentation. We have a QR code. That QR code will take you to our website where we have many more FAQ questions that you can look at. We also, if you have any short-term rental inquiries, please feel free to email us at strrental@ttc.lacounty.gov. Thank you so much.
Are you taking questions?
Paid member has the presentation PowerPoint in your email, so this should be included in the email. Okay, any questions?
I have a question. Okay, so you do have a list of long-term rentals in the county. In the case of short-term rentals, do you have a list of them now too?
We don't have a list because we don't have a program, but as soon as the program is adopted, then we can start putting our registration system together, and then we can start scouring the hosting platforms. We do have some data that was given to us about 2 years ago. The CEO did a data study. The list is probably a little old because it was 2020, but we do have some data from that time period of who was doing a short-term rental.
In the case of parking, you said as long as there's some available, that the people are to use it. If you had 10 people going into someone's house and they had, let's say, 5 cars, they won't have enough parking and they're going to be out on the street blocking other people in the front of other people's property. And some of us see this kind of a problem now. Is that something that's acceptable, that they're going to be able to park in front of other people's homes? Maybe 2 or 3 homes because they don't have enough parking place. Obviously, they're going to have maybe 2 or 3 in their parking or in their driveway.
Great question. And just by sitting here tonight, I know that you have parking issues because I've been listening to you, and we had Public Works here. So again, I think it's something that we're going to have to address from neighborhood to neighborhood. And I'm hoping that since you have a very strong community here, that you will be contacting us about parking issues, because we will be having to coordinate with Public Works as well as the Sheriff Department, because if it's not illegal to park on the street and someone is parking on the street as a guest, I need to work with other departments to figure out how that's going to work. Because it's not, unless they can get ticketed for overnight parking, because I don't know, can people park overnight in your community?
Yeah, they can.
Okay, so again, we'd have to take that on as a case-by-case basis to see how we would address that issue, because in terms, we can only follow what we have on the county code books.
Okay. Let's say these people are doing something wrong. How are you going to know that?
We are going to know that because we're hoping, as community neighbors, you guys can tell us. If someone calls 911, we're sending out the neighborhood notices so that if it's happening next door, you can tell us what's happening, or if someone calls 911. So we're not going to be, does that answer your question?
Are you expecting the police department to contact you?
The Sheriff Department? Yes.
Yes.
I already have Mr. Denver's number, yes. Yes.
So what is the difference between Airbnb and short-term rental? Isn't it?
Nothing, no. Just what people do is, you want to repeat your question? I want to make sure we
So
heard
what
it.
is the difference between the Airbnb and the short-term rental? Isn't it the same?
It's the same. So short-term rental is the formal word for someone who puts their house on Airbnb.
So is that program is already in effect, so how is...
There's no regulation for the county of unincorporated areas. So there's no rules or regulations on the books for the county right now. If the board adopts this program, we will have a program to regulate.
So that means you're gonna go back to all the people that are currently under Airbnb, and then
Correct.
they're now part of this program?
Yes, yes.
Everybody does the 12% occupancy tax regardless of where the Airbnb is? You know, like hotels,
Yes.
different city has different occupancy tax.
Yes, so for the unincorporated area, it's 12% across the board. For unincorporated area only. So if you stay in a hotel or an Airbnb, it's 12%.
I have a question for you. For you to enforce the ordinance, do you require Airbnb or any other platform provide you the list of the hosts in the area?
We actually don't. We'll be working with a vendor that's going to be doing their own monitoring of each platform every single night. So we know exactly who's posting what. We take pictures and we will be sending notices out to say, hey, we see that you guys are advertising short-term rental and you're not registered. So yes, we will have the technology to be able to do that.
Just a quick history question. I believe you said you got some data back, was it 2020?
Yes.
2020. How long have you been at this process of developing this?
Since 2019.
2000. Thank you. Very interesting.
Aziz?
Thank you for being here this evening. My name is Aziz Amiri. I'm also the CEO of the Regional Chamber of Commerce. And our organization represents, and advocates for businesses from Diamond Bar, Roland Heights, Hacienda Heights, Valinda, Bassett, La Puente. And we advocate for over 3,500 businesses, from lodging to tourism to restaurants. So I have so many technical questions, but not today. I'm going to invite you to join our Government Affairs Council meeting next month, because they'll be interested in knowing, because many are hotel industry owners, restaurant, real estate. So, but today I'm going to ask you a few questions that may have an impact on our residents. So the TOT that the county will collect, is it directed to general funds?
Yes.
Okay. How is it spent?
That's for the Board of Supervisors. I don't have that information.
Okay. So here's what I would propose. If I go to Diamond Bar next door, they have hotel transient occupancy tax imposed by the city. The fund collected from TOT goes to the city, and it is spent in the city. So here you will collect TOT from Roland Heights, Hacienda Heights. That funds leaves the community, and we may not even see a dime. How can we address that?
Unfortunately, I can't address that today. That would be a question that would be for the board offices, because the money does go into a general fund.
Correct.
I will tell you that the transient occupancy tax is collected today. That is something that has been on the books for quite some time. So whether we have a short-term rental program or not, the TOT is still being collected.
So I would recommend that RHCCC to think about this, how we can bring the money back to our community, because we are generating this revenue. The other thing I want to bring to your attention is, in our neighborhoods, there are many foreign students that are living in host residences. They come from all over the world to go to Mount Stack, Cal Poly, Cal State Fullerton. And there are many, many foreigners, especially ladies, come here to give birth to the child because they want to get U.S. citizen. Would you consider those guests or their homes as STR? And how would you find that out? because they're not on Airbnb.
So this program is just for short-term rentals. So if they are advertising that rental on a hosting platform such as Airbnb or Expedia or VRBO, then we would be able to find them because we'll be scouring those websites.
Otherwise, they go unnoticed.
Correct.
Okay.
So again, I don't know as like you said, boarding.
Yeah, so
I'm not.
there are many host parents, they call it,
Mhm.
that house, okay, foreign students that are going to, and it's part of the university and college initiated program. So the foreign students come and live in the host. The host also collect revenue from the visiting guests.
Are they by chance staying more than 30 days?
Yes.
Okay, so that's not a short-term rental, and that's a long-term rental.
But
Correct.
So they can actually check out and check back in, and they can start over. That would be another group. Can they do that?
We can take that back and research that. I see what you're saying. Yeah, I don't have that.
thank you for answering my questions, and we'll get your business card, and I will contact you to schedule your participation in our government action council meeting.
Sure, and I'll bring our TOT accounting folks too.
Thank you, that would be great. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Susan, resident. Provided that this is passed and takes effect in March of 2024, how will community members determine if a STR has a valid registration?
You will be able to go to our website and type in an address, and then you will be able to see if they have the short-term rental registration certificate. And if they don't, then you can email us, and then we will follow up with them and follow up with that property. Thank you, great question.
Very quick point, and this will help out Aziz, whoever he is there. And the fact is, we've run into this several times before with different projects. Rolling Heights is unincorporated. So when they come to these unit meetings and so forth, the people that get invited to the table are those cities. They have a city representative and so forth. There will be one person who will represent our unincorporated area, and that's from the county. And if, what's his name was here, Ryan was here, he can tell you who that is. But that's the reality that we have to deal with. They are the ones that represent us. Okay, who's next?
I have a question for you. Do you have any mechanism for reporting after the ordinance start effect? Report the number of violations, number of short-term rental sites, and amount of fine you collect, and all those. So we'd like to know how is that doing after it started effective. Actually, I want to see how much